Hey, if you've been putting off purchasing a home because of high interest rates, this show is for you. And by the way, you're not alone.
And I'm like,
Chantry Abbott's here with Guild Mortgage. Jesse Paul's here with the Larkin
good
Group.
morning, everybody.
Mistletoe the dog, also known as Missy, is curled up next to me on the couch.
Yeah,
with a
she
very,
abandoned
very
me
nice
as soon as you
sweater on.
walked in the door.
Yeah, she has her pink sweater. And my PSA before we go any further today is go out and pull your weeds. By the way, you want to pull them while it's wet. I cannot tell you this. Let me be an old guy for a minute. You know what I mean? I'm that guy now, right? I've actually become like my dad. Pull the weeds while it's wet.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. And while you're at it, purchase some preen over at Ace Hardware, Preen.
Is that the same as like make hay while the sun shines?
Kind of. Yeah. Broadcast that stuff all over your yard while it's wet, and it's going to create a nice little barrier and stop a lot of the weeds from coming up. So, whatever. Yeah, follow me for more landscaping tips. Chantry Abbott, good morning, dude.
Howdy.
Hey, man. Interest rates hit the lowest. Let's talk about it. Give us a headline.
Yeah, the headline would be interest rates essentially are the lowest they've been in 2 years.
Yeah. 2 years.
I thought I read that correctly, but I was like, really?
Yeah. Technically, we had about a week in September where they might have been a smidge better, but really it's the same. They're about the same. It's about as good as it's been in 2 years.
2 years, guys, 2 years. And, if again, we opened the show by saying, hey, if you've been putting off purchasing a home because of high interest rates, this show's for you. And this Bud's for you. It sounded like the old Bud Light ads. It's not, by the way, just so in case you're wondering, this isn't a show where we spend the next 22 minutes convincing you to buy a home, because the reality is, people are going to buy a home when they're ready to buy a home. But I think that there are a lot of people, Chant, that have been sitting on the fence that don't realize that this rate drop of about a half point could have been the difference.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to us anecdotally. So, if I'm a buyer and I've been sitting around and I'm going, oh my gosh, I just can't quite make this work. I think I'll keep renting. What are your thoughts? I mean, like what does a half point change even mean?
Yeah. So if you think about purchase prices of a home, half a point means about a 5% increase in buying power.
Yeah.
So average median price close to 500. Mm-hmm. You could buy a 530, 525, 530 house and have the same payment. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but a lot of times that is the difference in getting into the house that you really want.
Oh, it absolutely could be.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think there's two ways to look at it. One is you increased your buying power. Another way is, okay, maybe I don't want to purchase any more home, but I want to lower my payment.
Yeah.
What might that look like in a payment?
A couple $100.
Yeah.
Really the opportunity now is we do still have some sellers. Like it's almost become a thing in our market that like sellers are expecting in most cases. I think you guys as real estate pros are educating your seller pretty well, that most likely a buyer is going to come and ask for some concessions or a credit from the seller to get a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
Because you're competing with new builders. So builders have figured that out 3 years ago.
Yeah,
The rate sells
they're
the
tough.
house. And
They're
so
tough to compete with.
sometimes these builders are spending $25,000 to get the buyer a 5.99 interest rate. So as a traditional home seller, that's your competition.
Yeah.
And so I think the real estate community in like all of Washington counties, it's almost like it's pretty much planned in for the most part that you can go get 10 or 15 grand or something from the seller. And that could realistically get somebody into the 5.99 range right now.
Well, let me throw something here, Chant, and I'm going to turn this to Jesse for a minute. We've seen inventories up. Mm-hmm. In February, sales were down.
Yep.
Right. And Chant's going to address in the show, what sales in February actually mean, where they when they came from. But Jesse, are there a lot of sellers right now going, geez, man, like I can't get my home sold. What's going on? Maybe I'll just pull it off the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, like crazy.
And I, ironically, Chantry, that conversation you would think would be easier saying, hey, if you need to get this sold, why don't we offer this, is still extremely difficult.
Is it?
Yeah. There's still a pretty wide gap between, maybe what a buyer's looking at and what a seller's looking at.
So maybe that's
Would you
actually
agree
a
with
good
that?
lesson because most of the finance buyers we're doing are getting it. And so what that means is they're buying the houses from the sellers that are willing to offer it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
oh
and
my
that
gosh.
and that goes back to this. We're in a really interesting market. Homes are either selling immediately or they're sitting and sitting and
Yeah.
sitting.
Yeah, for a very long time.
Right. So, and it's, and there's no in between.
You know, I had a conversation yesterday. I met with a stager, home stager at one of my listings that's, it's been sitting and sitting. And I think it's actually important to even talk about this because realtors love to remember, we are the industry where we post everything we did.
Yeah.
Showed a buyer home. Yeah, I had to eat in my car again today. Just sold, hashtag winning, hashtagging top listing agent. You know, and before I go any further, I want to remind you that your dentist, your doctor, your attorney, they don't do that. Okay.
Right.
But what happens is we've been sucked into this social media vortex where we feel like we have to. That said, realtors love to just brag that it always works. It has not worked at this house. It's a home in Sand Hollow. Sand Hollow changed all of their HOA policies. You used to be able to just freely short-term rent your home. They pulled back. How they pulled this crap off is, I actually asked the seller, I said, why didn't you guys get together and sue the HOA?
It seems crazy that they got away with that out there.
And they modified the bylaws that you could no longer just short-term rent the home that you purchased in a short-term rental subdivision, but there would be a cap on how many could do it. And if you pull it out for even 5 minutes of the pool, you have to get back on a waiting list.
Yeah.
This hurt this guy. This hurt everybody in town. Okay.
That probably cost that guy a couple $100,000.
Right now we're looking at 200.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. I have no idea how they pulled this off. I had no clue. So that said, I went out with a stager because the home isn't moving, and we're at this place where the house is actually, by every standard, Jesse, a good deal. Yes or no?
It is.
It's a 5,000 square foot home for like $927
Wow.
at Sand Hollow.
Wow.
Resort.
Yeah, it is a really good deal.
At the retreat at Sand Hollow.
Wow.
But here's the deal. It's dated. It was built in 07. It kind of has this like Knights of the Round Table feel, like big, like round turrets and huge furniture and gigantic light fixtures. Okay. So I take a stager out there and said, okay, this isn't working. So we have some options, John. You drop the price $50,000, right? But one of the conversations we're having is, what about offering a bigger incentive? And what about staging? And what about painting the home? Because it's really dark. And what I'm getting at is a lot of homes aren't selling. So who's John, to your point, Chantry, actually competing with? He's really competing with builders.
Yeah. A lot of new construction, especially in that price point.
Can't somebody go out and purchase a really lovely home that probably fits their family exactly the way they want for $900,000 and get an incentive?
And pick their paint colors and things like that.
All the way.
Catch it halfway done kind of a thing.
Yeah. Right. So this show is for buyers, but it's for sellers. It's always for both, right? It's for sellers to understand who you're competing with, right? Now, Chant, you said something on the phone this morning with me. Sales were down in February because people who bought a home and who closed in February. Tell me about the thing you said about January.
Yeah. So February sales were a little bit down, like you said. Mortgage applications weren't down in February. So a mortgage application, the average mortgage closing is 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
So people that buy in February, they actually locked in a mortgage rate in December and January's rates. Well, December and January's rates weren't good. So now they're better, and so mortgage applications are up in February.
Yeah.
So what should mean is that we should see increased buyer activity in April and May.
Yeah, that's true. That doesn't surprise me though, because in December it was a slower month.
Yes.
Not only because of the holidays, but because interest rates were higher. There was just a lot going on that it was a slower market.
People were still recovering from the concern of the new presidency and all that. People held off a lot for that too.
Yeah.
So
truly.
it's no surprise that February was a little bit slower for all those reasons.
And let me read you this quote, right, from Nerd Wallet. Nerd Wallet's actually a good site. Many Americans are discouraged with the housing market, according to Nerd Wallet's 2025 Home Buyer Report, the 9th of its kind. Still, an ambitious share of Americans are ushering in the new year with an optimistic plans to buy a home. Well, this was written in February. And people are discouraged with the housing market because, well, while we're sharing some slides, they're able to see that home prices in the state of Utah since 1991 are up 613%.
Yeah. Wow.
And they say, A, I missed that. B, they're too high. And C, I don't like interest rates. So D, maybe I will rent, right? But it's interesting. Question here, 2025 will be a renter's market. Comment, right? Many Americans will remain or become renters while the cost of buying a home may increase. Rental affordability will improve, right? I throw this out because this is from a report that they give to realtors to share. I think we have to stop always just beating the drum that like people are dumb for renting.
Sure. Yeah. There's reasons that you should.
There are reasons people rent, right? Many prospective home buyers, but the flip side, many prospective home buyers fear the long-term consequences of renting, including 70% feel they're not making a long-term investment in the future. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
70%. How's it not 100? 72% worry that rent increases could affect their current and long-term finances. Sure.
Well, it's not 100 because you'll never have 100% of the people really.
Yeah.
Number one, diving into the actual research of the truth of that statement.
Yeah.
And number two, you'll never have 100% of the people actually believing that it's possible for them.
Yeah.
Right. There's that. Well, that just doesn't happen for people like us.
Oh, yeah. Jesse, we've talked about this on the show a lot in the past.
So
we're not the kind of people who.
Right. So, and that's a slippery slope and something that will keep you stuck on both sides of the fence, right?
Yeah.
No matter what that follows that statement, it is a perfect way to keep you stuck.
Yeah. Amen. So we opened the show, guys. We've got Chantry Abbott here with Guild Mortgage, Jeremy Larkin, Jesse Paul with the Larkin Group, KW Realty. I opened the show saying, hey, if you've been putting off purchasing a home because of high rates, like this is for you. And I want to talk about something. Chant, America's opinion of the best long-term investment. 36% say, drum roll please, it's the highest number.
Homeownership.
Real estate, homeownership, man.
Yeah.
22% say stocks and mutual funds, 18% gold, 13% savings accounts and CDs, 4% bonds, and 3% cryptocurrency. I also missed that bandwagon. But
me too, buddy.
Yeah, good grief. Well, I actually had some and then I sold it because it went down. So I went ahead and lost most of the original capital, and then it like went through the roof.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean? Right? I only had 10 grand in there, but honestly, I think it would be worth like 200K today. What I had, right? Is this accurate? How many pieces of real estate do you own just for fun?
14.
Yeah. You think that
Nice.
You think it's smart to own real estate? I mean, you have a guy who's a mortgage lender saying, hey, I study finances, home buyer finances every day, what you really do.
For 16 years.
16
Credit
years.
reports, bank statements, tax returns.
Yeah.
And you own 14 properties. 36% of Americans say it's the best long-term investment. I think it's the best long-term investment for most people because most folks don't understand stocks and bonds and mutual funds. They definitely don't understand gold. They need to live somewhere, right, Chant?
Yeah.
And so, shoot, I mean, you might as well just purchase a home. Let me shift gears and ask you a question. Okay, so I'm in the wrong page in my.
While you're shifting gears, I just want to put one more point on that.
We can't see your slide, by the way.
Yeah.
You can buy a house. Like let's go back and look at somebody that bought a house for $0 down in 2019. They might have literally came out of pocket a couple $1,000s in closing costs.
Unbelievable.
They bought a house in 2019 for $300. That house is probably worth $500 today with no money out of pocket. There's just no other investment in the world. Now, I'm taking a unique time where prices did definitely jump.
Yeah.
But you can take any 10-year period.
That's true.
In the history of this country, and home prices went up over that 10-year period. Even if you take the day that it crashed to its absolute lowest level ever, 10 years away, it was still up.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is crazy, but it just will be. Everything's up. So it's not like the secret thing that real estate's just always going to get more expensive. It's no, the government's printing money, and so there's inflation.
Yeah.
Everything's more expensive. Ask your dad what he paid for his first truck.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Paid like $5,000.
We were just
this is crazy.
the Keller Williams Family Reunion Conference last week, and Gary Keller from the stage said, real estate is not something that you wait to buy. You buy it and then wait.
Yeah,
correct.
The people that actually do that will always win.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk about this. Last night I had a client of mine. It's my banker. Well, I mean, I guess my banker, it makes it sound like I'm special. However,
You are special.
Yeah, he
called you?
I 9:45 p.m.
Wow.
Because I got way behind. I sent him a market analysis of his property. He paid $306 for it. I think $525 to $550 is real. And I think it would be higher except for there were like 5 other homes for sale in this subdivision. And that's the equity position that people are working from.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's owned it for quite a good number of years. So he will have paid that mortgage down, right? Percentage of Americans planning to buy a home this year. Well, in 2020, 9% were planning to. In 2021, 11%. 2022, 11%. In 2023, 10%. Well, what happened in January of 23? I remember rates went up.
Yeah.
In 2024, 11%. But check this out, guys. In 2025, 15% of Americans are planning to purchase a home.
It's getting better.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Is number one is for 3 years, the buyer supply has been very low based on the population.
Correct.
So new household formations should have X amount of buyers per year across the country, and that's been way down just because affordability got so difficult. Prices went up and rates went up. All those people that didn't buy in the last 3 years that would have naturally, if all things being equal, would have naturally bought a home because it was just the time in their life to buy a home. All those people that didn't are now starting to go, okay, we're in a little better position. Now it's finally time to jump in.
Well, even in 2020 or 2021, there was so many people that just here locally that just couldn't compete.
Sure.
And they stepped back.
Yes.
I remember one couple, and it was fall of 2020. And she was just in tears because we kept losing out, and she gave up.
Yeah.
I think they're still renting.
Yeah, and 2021 was a cash buyer's game.
It just got more intense and more intense and more intense.
Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't convince her, look, we will get it. It's just going to take us some time.
Yeah.
It's going to take us some time to find that one that we can win.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't handle the stress.
Yeah. Yeah, it was even from the mortgages we were doing, you know, the sad part is that most first-time home buyers and low down payment borrowers were not able to buy a house in 2021 that wanted to.
Oh,
they just
when it was so affordable.
Couldn't compete.
Yeah.
It's the first time in my career I've seen people willingly pay over appraised value per properties.
And quite a bit so.
Yeah, like some 50, 100 grand. And I just have never seen that. I mean, you know, you get the unique properties that's got 20 acres and outbuildings and it doesn't necessarily appraise, but you can kind of understand why it's that valuable to that person. But these were just normal homes. They would go in and say, I just got to get a home. I'm getting out of California, sold my house. I got half down payment. I don't care if I have to pay 100 grand more than this thing's worth. I just got to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of madness. And I think if you flash forward or fast forward to today, right? It's shooting this episode in March of 2025. Inventory's up around Washington County. People actually have options right now. People can actually get concessions from sellers. Look, I wish that I would have purchased more real estate also, you know, in the past. But if you've been sitting on the sidelines, there are ways to make this happen. And if you believe that you're going to stay around, say Southern Utah, right? We're talking to Southern Utah folks here. Yeah, like especially let's say 5 years, through 4 to 5 years. You know, you can pay rent. And I've always said rent definitely has its value. You do get to live in the home, right? But you are building equity for your landlord, right? And I don't mean that like, hey, don't let him or her get that. I just mean you're not building your own equity.
For sure.
You're not increasing, you're not helping your own tax position, right, Chantry? Are the tax benefits to owning a home?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything you pay in terms of interest or mortgage related fees is tax deductible.
Which is a chunk,
Can matter, yeah.
right? It's a chunk. And the reality is this: if you can afford to be in a home, then I just look, renting is not going to, it is not going to deliver all the same benefits.
Right.
And some of these benefits we can quantify very easily. And a lot of them we can't. And those are some of the biggest benefits of the whole entire process, are the ones that you can't quantify. The one that's like, hey, what's it like to own your own home? What's it like to be able to do whatever you want to with your home? What's it like to have the pride of home ownership and raise your kids in a home where you're not like, well, we didn't really like the color when we moved in here anyway, and the landlord isn't super helpful with all the stuff in the house, so we just kind of tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's like being on an extended vacation,
Yeah.
kind of, but not in a fun way.
Yeah, the stability, especially for children, because there is, we get a lot of people. I had some folks in my office, first time home buyers, they're paying like $1,200 a month in rent to go buy a competitive house to what their renting is going to be like $2,800 a month.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
$1,700 difference. Maybe that is a reason that you stay renting.
Correct.
But here's what the discussion turned to is, what should the rent really be for that house? And it's it's $2,000 at least.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in a sweetheart deal.
They're in a sweetheart deal. And the question is, how long is that going to last? At some point, the owner of that property is either going to go, this is not making sense, so I'm going to double the rent. What they're most likely going to do is call you guys and sell it. Mm-hmm. And they're going to knock on the door of the renter and say, here's your 30-day notice.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or we hear this all the time. They die. Goes to their kids. The kids want to do one thing, and it's sell.
Cash out. Yeah.
Cash out right now. So if you're paying way less in rent than is fair, awesome. Take advantage of the situation you're in now, but it's not long term.
Yeah.
No, it's just not. It's just not. Let's wrap up, guys. The last couple of minutes, Chant. So we've got Chantry Abbott here with Guild Mortgage, talking about, what about creative ways for somebody to finance a property, right? I mean, what about rate buy downs, ARMs, concessions? We've talked about some of it.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of money from sellers, and we're doing what's called the temporary buy down still. So a temporary buy down is where you reduce the interest rate a couple % for the first few years. So it's a fixed rate mortgage, but the first 2 or 3 years in the house, you get to pay significantly less. Mm-hmm. That difference is funded by the seller. It's really nice because you spend money, maybe you spend on down payment and furniture, and maybe you've got an upward trajectory on your income. It allows you to get in the door on home ownership at the most affordable way you can do it in the first 12 to 36 months.
Are you guys still doing a lot of those?
A lot of those, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's still a big thing. It just makes a lot of sense. A lot of people are buying a house and they're going to be in a fight. One of the questions I ask is, I say, if you could fast forward 3 years from now, do you think you'll be making more or less money?
Yeah, well, pretty much everybody's going to say more.
Most are going to say more. Mm-hmm. And so I say, well, this is a way to graduate yourself into that payment.
Sure. Right.
We're doing a lot of creative stuff with self-employed. It's tax time. I'm actually trying to get the word out to some accountants. We're doing a lot of creative stuff with self-employed people.
Yeah.
So traditionally a mortgage is you file your tax returns, and whatever you claim to the government and whatever you pay taxes on is what you can get in a mortgage. Well, sometimes
that's tough for
people
us.
can take
and by
a lot
the way,
of
guys,
deductions.
30 seconds.
And we have a program that you can do bank statement income. So it's not tax returns. So we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Boom.
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to reach out to Chantry Abbott, Chantry, tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, just look up Chantry Abbott Guild Mortgage. We're on 1200 South River Road. My cell is actually 435-979-1775. Text me.
Yeah.
Call me.
Guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming here, guys. Look, I mean, I don't know what's going on with prices. They could just every forecast is that they're going up, which is going to hurt renters. It's going to hurt anybody who doesn't buy. And you just have to make the decision that makes sense for you at the right time. Guys, visit us at gostgeorge.com or Google the Larkin Group. Chantry Abbott, Jesse Paul, Jeremy Larkin.
Thanks
Over
for
and out,
having
guys.
us.
Peace.